Our next guest is a former head basketball coach at BYU and Fresno State. He also moonlighted with us as a BYU TV basketball analyst, is the author of the new book, Touch All the Lines. Our pleasure to welcome back to the Wise Guys our good friend, Steve Cleveland.
Great to be
you
here,
said
guys.
you were going to make a couple notes, and I'm like, it's like you're still writing your book. Look at all that stuff over there.
These are excerpts from the book, I can tell right now.
Probably not.
How do you feel about these exhibition games? Do you like them?
Yeah, you love them. I mean, when you put a team together and you're building a team together, you have an opportunity to play all of your guys. And you look at, I'm going to go with this rotation. I might go with another rotation. It gives young players an opportunity where there's not a great deal of pressure. And I think it's a really valuable thing. And I think usually when I had scrimmages, just like they did here at BYU now, is that you play everybody. You give everybody an opportunity, and you have different lineups. And, can this young man, he's kind of designated point guard, but he swing and be the two-man. And so you're open to looking at what can this young man do versus this young man doing. And the more guys you can have that can play multiple positions, the better you're going to be.
Well, plus they fill the arena and they put it on TV, so you get all that stuff too.
Yeah, you do, and then that's changed.
Because it used to be the double. Like I remember a couple years ago, BYU played a double secret scrimmage against Stanford, and they won. And we're like, well, why is it double secret? Why couldn't they just let people come?
I don't know what the logistics of exhibitions are now, because it seems like they're playing everywhere, in and out of seasons. They're going on foreign trips and doing these things to kind of help build chemistry to the team, and also to give younger players an opportunity to make that transition. And you guys have just talked a little bit about North Carolina, and here's a team that's they're usually typically always in the tournament, but they didn't have a great year last year, not a North Carolina year. And they, as I've read and kind of got an understanding of North Carolina, what we're going to see is Hubert Davis has. I didn't know this, but I didn't know that Jeff Lebo and Sean May were his assistants.
Yeah.
So we got a tight
big
North Carolina
name,
family.
big name North Carolina guys, right?
And they have a mix of returning players that are really solid. Seth Trimble and Brad Frederick are good players. This Caleb Wilson was a preseason guy that everybody's kind of talked about.
I think he and AJ played the McDonald's All-American game.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And, I think in the ACC, everything I've read is that North Carolina should be somewhere in between 1-4, 1-5. I don't see them winning that conference, but we'll have to see how it plays out. But they certainly are good. And I think this past year, I think the coaching staff at North Carolina, I think the fan base, everybody think we got to be better than this. And they went to the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And, you start looking at some of the guys they brought in. We talked about Caleb Wilson, preseason second team. But they really did go in and add more pieces and got to the portal. And, between the transfer portal and, number one, that just allows you to change your team in just a flash. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that the opportunities for guys to have a second chance. Didn't work out at North Carolina, it might work out at New Mexico, whatever it might have been. And I love that about college basketball today. I think that, before you kind of felt like, hey, we got this guy, we're stuck with this guy, we can't transfer him, he can't jump somewhere else.
Right.
I've got to either sit down with his parents and tell him, hey, this is not going to work. That's always a difficult thing to do. But nowadays, there's a place for everybody. If a guy starts in the ACC and it doesn't go well, and next thing you know, he's in the West Coast Conference,
right?
Whatever it might be. And so I kind of like that. I think it gives everybody an opportunity. But the portal group, Carolina hit it. They've got a 7-footer from Arizona that's brought in, Kyle Evans from Colorado State. That's the thing I love about college basketball. You can be playing at Colorado State, spend 2 or 3 years there, average 15, 16 points a game, and by the time you get there, you're better than any freshman that North Carolina can bring in.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what you see happening now is guys are jumping from, hey, I was at Long Beach State for 2 years, averaged 22 a game, and now he's a mature guy. The Caroliners or all, whoever it might be, they can't get freshmen like that. They've got, 60 or 70 or 80 games of experience. They're more confident. They're more mature. And so I love that about the transfer portal.
We were watching Dawson Baker shoot it today. So we started watching him, Cleve, and I noticed he'd made like 3 or 4 in a row. He's just working his way around the 3-point line. The guys are feeding him. The managers are feeding him. I'm like, he's making like 3 or 4 in a row. Hey, Dave, let's watch. So now I start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in a row. Then he misses one. Then he makes his next 3. And I'm like, he had to just go like 19 of 20. Yeah. And remember, he wasn't recruited by BYU level program.
UCI guy?
Yeah, he goes to UCI and he plays like, that's right. And he plays, and he's like under recruited and he develops there. Then he transfers to BYU and man, he's going to have a role on this team because when you got AJ and Rob Wright and these guys going downhill, there's a really important role for a dude that you can throw it out there that's going to go make 19 out of 23s from out there, right?
Well, and it opens the floor.
Yeah.
So that AJ can do what he really likes to do. And AJ can shoot the 3, obviously. There's not much he can't do. But when you can surround your team with 2 or 3 outstanding 3-point shooters, it just opens everything for you. Now it allows the penetrators left. You know, Rob Wright can go in there and penetrate and attack and dump to AJ. Or what guys get better shots when you surround that floor with 3-point shooters.
So these games, Nebraska and North Carolina, don't count, except they kind of do count. Right, they're on TV, and there's a chance to really make a lasting impression, or maybe an early impression that becomes a lasting impression. There are a lot of folks who are going to watch this game Friday night to find out what North Carolina has, and they'll judge North Carolina, and then they'll go play some cupcakes. But it seems like because it's on TV, it actually becomes a game that doesn't count in the standings, but seems to have some lasting power.
Well, they got brand names here.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about the ACC, you're talking about North Carolina and all the amazing things that everybody understands. There's such deep respect for those programs over the years, you know, and BYU's in the same position. When you look at what Coach Young has done, and he's really turned this thing around and not that BYU hasn't been really good and had great coaches and teams, but this is a next level thing now. You know, AJ is a big part of that, but I love the foreign players that they're bringing in, and there's a blend with Richie Saunders and like you mentioned others. I love Coach Young's approach to the idea that we can go anywhere in the world and get a player. Mm-hmm. And he has that kind of clout, being in the NBA.
Russia, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I just say that because that was our experience last year, right?
Yeah. Looking at Yegor and consider what he did and the impact that he had and how he grew. Because he wasn't really great when he came in, but then as obviously he played well enough to get into an NBA draft and play playing in Brooklyn and all of those things. But I think that the things I love about this team, and I started looking at BYU's team, is they have so much depth, and the talk's always going to be about AJ, okay? But Rob Wright is really good. Mm-hmm. You know, again, a guy with experience and maturity, and you start looking Houston, Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona, Kansas, Iowa State. I don't know much about Baylor. But those 6 teams are probably all going to the conference. They're all going to the league. Yeah. You know, I mean, they're going to be in the tournament. They're going to be in a situation where the competition within this organization is just going to make everybody better. And I think it's fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Fun to watch.
And we were talking as we were there today. We have the game Friday night, and normally we'd go the day before. But the schedule's so crazy this week with media days that today was our observation day for our game Friday night. And Dave and I were talking. We're going, whoa. Look at this lineup, and you have Boscovich, AJ, Caba, Richie,
and Wright,
and Wright on the floor. That's a big lineup. That's like 6'10", 6'9", 6'9", 6'5", and then Rob Wright at like 6'2", right? 6'1", 6'2". Big lineup. Then you have other lineups where instead of Boscovich at 6'10", now he goes with I'm trying to think of who he had in there. Davis in there, who's not quite as long, but real great lateral quickness. So if you have a smaller 3 out there, he can go out and defend with lateral quickness out there. And then we're just thinking, man, Kevin can put a lot of different lineups together that either can match up with an offense that's giving him trouble or create all kinds of problems for other defenses because he can put a bunch of different folks out there that can all play. How important is that to be able to put different types of lineups together?
It's really important. The matchups are everything. When I'd prepare for games with our staff. You know, you could immediately tell, well, that's going to be a tough matchup for us. You know, I mean, here's a guy that can play the wing. He can come down and play in the post, and he's really talented. And so we had to create a defensive scheme to kind of stop guys like that. But when you have 3 or 4 people like that in the lineup, then you make yourself really hard to guard. And I think that's what teams are doing now. It's certainly what they're doing here at BYU. And I think the versatility of guys that can put it on the floor, that can stretch defenses by shooting the 3, that can attack off the dribble. I mean, a lot of these guys are coming into the program with that skill set. And then they develop it and get more confidence. And I really appreciate what you said, because you have so many different lineups that you can put here that it can be kind of a nightmare for an opposing coach. And you might match up with one side of group, but you might have a real difficult time when they go small. When I was coaching, I loved to go small. I'd play small forwards because you could open the floor and stretch, and guys got to come out and guard you. And now that allows the guys that are not 6'10" or 6'9", that are big, bulky guys, but when you spread the floor, it puts a real strain on if a 6'11" guy in the post, and he's having to defend in a 6'7" big who can shoot from the 3. He nullifies all the 6'10" that he has. It doesn't matter. And so I want more guys that are quick, can play multiple positions. Yes, it's great if your 6'10" guys can shoot it and handle it, and we do have that. And AJ here at BYU, you know, he's not going to be a guy where guys are going to double team him in the low post. He's not going to get another touch. He'll pop out. And I remember watching practice 6, 7, 8 months ago, and I went and watched AJ play. And you'd have a hard time telling me that he doesn't think he's the point guard.
He can play point.
He can play it.
Yeah, he absolutely can play point.
And, you know, and I watched him, and he handled it. And I remember talking to Coach Young, and he said, yeah, that's probably what he's thinking. You know, but that's probably not the reality.
No, and Rob Wright is a phenomenal point guard. So AJ doesn't need to play. But there'll be times when, against certain defense, you can go, AJ, bring it up. Well, bring the ball. And he can.
The long rebounds, situations, steals, he can handle it and take it in open court.
Yeah, one of the most fun things we watched was a one-on-one drill, and AJ and Richie just said, "Let's go." That was something.
Yeah.
Because Richie.
Did you watch? It was a recent practice
today.
Oh, cool.
And Richie he can score like all kinds of, like he is like double fake pump, like, and there's AJ with all that length, and then Richie's just doing a floater over the top of him, and you're going, man, that kid can. And of course, Richie's maybe the best shooter on this team. Like, he's a crazy good shooter. Yeah. Then you see AJ, and then he pulled, and Richie's a great defender. Then AJ's going to pull up, and he's going to shoot a 3. Then the next time, Richie pushes up on him too much, and he goes by him, and he like literally throws a dunk down where I think he was looking down at the rim when he threw the dunk down. And I'm just going, these two dudes on the same team are really exciting.
Yes, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is exciting. And I think this coaching staff is perfect for this type of a team and players, you know, and you got a young coach that maybe is new to this. I love the coaching staff, and it's a rather large coaching staff.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Chris Burgess today, and I said, how many guys are actually involved? I said, you sit there and watch them. There's like 17 guys. Yeah.
I said there's also a manager for every player.
Oh, yeah.
They bring them water in a towel. I was like, wow.
It's a different world.
It's a different world. Former BYU basketball coach Steve Cleveland's on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, Mountain America Credit Union, and Eddie. The Wilkins on the live stream. Coach Cleveland and I were young elders together in the England South Mission.
Joyce Wilkins.
50 years ago. Hi, Elder Cleveland.
Wow.
How about that? Young elders together in England.
We're connected by technology like never before.
You know, that one of the things as a missionary, and I've had some recently got in contact with some guys that I hadn't been in contact with before, but having been a mission leader and having 600 missionaries, it's really fun to be in a grocery store or be somewhere, you know, President Cleveland, you know.
Yeah.
It is like, and then in my mind, I do not remember his name.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard.
Sister. How about this?
But that's cool. They serve. That's 50. That's when you were a missionary.
Oh, no, man.
That's cool.
That's in London.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Let's go back in time. Not that far, but back in time. The Cougars are ranked 8th in the preseason AP Top 25. That's their highest ranking in program history. You took over a BYU team that had just gone 1-25. Did you ever see this day in your wildest dreams?
Probably not. Probably not, especially where college sports is today. And I look at, not just the fact that coaches and players now can be paid, that whole dynamic has changed everything. But there's no way I could have. I watched us build that thing and turn it around and get to the tournament and do things. Dave just did a tremendous job taking the next step and continuing to get to the tournament 6, 7, 8 times. I saw the program, going forward and moving forward. But what's happening today with the transfer portal and with the ability to pay guys, it's changed the climate of college athletics. And I think it's just going to continue to get better. I love the transfer portal, man. It's a second chance place for guys that have had a tough time, didn't work here, didn't work there. And what I really like is, like a young man like Dawson, I love the fact that a guy who probably was not, as a freshman, was not good enough to ever think about coming to BYU. In fact, 2 or 3 years later, through a certain process and strength and getting healthy, all of a sudden, he becomes an integral part of this team. And I love that can happen. And when I was coaching, we loved to get transfers. If you could get a second or a guy that had played 2 or 3 years, had a year of eligibility and came in and had his head on, you didn't have to take him from that freshman year and build and build and build. Nice to occasionally get transfers. And for us, it was junior college guys. Today, it's a transfer portal, and it's a little bit different.
After you left BYU, you go back to Fresno, and you're at Fresno State. And Dave alluded to the fact that you had Paul George, which, by the way, I think I told you this. I ran into Paul and Kawhi Leonard a couple of years ago, a playoff game when they were with LA. They were playing the Jazz, it was a regular season game. I've known Kawhi for years because I used to do that package and had San Diego State when I did the NBC package. So I stopped and talked to Kawhi, and Paul was just being really quiet over on side, and you know him well. And then I said, "Hey, you and I have a common friend. Coach Steve Cleveland is a dear friend." My goodness, that was just he just came right over, and then he was my friend and he just talked about the impact that you had on his life. He loves you. That's very, very clear. So you have Paul George when you're over there, who you're very close to, who's a bona fide NBA guy, all-star, and all that. You know what it's like to have a guy like that on your roster. Kevin Young now's got AJ on this roster. How does that change how you have to approach things? What's that like, and how do you manage that on a squad when you've got somebody that talented?
Well, Paul's situation is a little bit different than AJ's. When we recruited Paul, he was from Southern California, and he was a skinny 6'6", maybe 175, but he was skilled. He really was skilled. And that first year, he had to get in the weight room. He changed his body, and everything took place. So AJ, that's probably not something AJ had gone through. But that second year, we were down at Pepperdine, and Paul was about midway through, before conference play started. There were probably 20 GMs. There was tons of people. They weren't there to see Paul. They were there to see some other guys. And I would say there was at least 20 NBA guys at this game. And they were playing Pepperdine. It's a close game. We come out the second half, and Paul hit 6 consecutive threes in a row. And all of a sudden, there is a buzz in that place. And he probably weighs 175, 180, but he's just killing it. And I can still remember Sinkyu Carey, my assistant coach. I can't use his verbiage, but he basically said, "Coach, he's gone." And he knew, and he's right. Afterwards, I thought, oh my gosh. I can still remember Paul's parents and Paul coming in to tell me this. It was a very emotional thing for them and for me, but it was exactly what Paul needed to do, is to take the next step and move forward. It made my job a little bit more difficult, and my life a little more difficult, but I could not have been happier. And I'll tell you about Paul. When he comes into town and he plays here and he's playing the Jazz, we'll connect and get together. But the last year when he came into town, there must have been 20, I don't know, all my neighbors, relatives, they're all sitting behind us because they know that Paul's going to come out and then I'm going to have a chance to talk to him a little bit. And so when the game was over, I went down, hugged Paul, we chatted a minute, and I wanted to introduce him to my kids and to a few friends. And I said, would you mind taking a picture with these guys? And I said, if you don't, and nobody else knew. I said, if you don't feel like it, that's not a problem. I said, no. There were like 23 kids down there on the jazz floor.
Yeah.
I still have that photo with Paul and I arm in arm. And that's how humble and what a great human being he is. I mean, he just, I know how he feels about me, and I know how I feel about him. And I give him most of the credit. But the fact that I had an opportunity to coach him and be with him was one of the great privileges of my coaching career.
So what was it like after Pepperdine? And now everyone's watching him. Now people and GMs are coming to see him as you're playing through the rest of the season. What was that like for the rest of your roster as you balanced that, which is what Kevin Young will have to do, and that gives you some unique insights. Was it easy? Was it a challenge? What was it like?
I don't think the coaching part of it was a challenge. I think when I went home and had a moment to reflect on things as we got towards the end of that season, I knew Paul was leaving before he even told me. I said, "This is my gut." I thought, man, and that's what he needed to do.
Right.
That's what he needed to do. And but it was hard. And to replace him, and every job I've ever had has been kind of a rebuilding deal. And we got Fresno to a point where we're rebuilding it. There was always 8 or 9 or 10,000 people there. We had a great group of kids. Tyler Johnson, a kid that ended up playing for Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. And we had some good players, and we had it going. And he stayed. We would have been really special. We would have got deep right in the tournament, but it didn't go that way. But I love those guys, and I would never ever get in the way of a young man having an opportunity. And Paul's family is. They were so sensitive to how it was impacting me. I said, "Listen, forget about me. You don't need to worry about me." I said, just hang on to this great young man and enjoy the ride.
So Kevin's now got an interesting situation. It kind of had the situation last year with Yegor where you could have 13 NBA scouts at practice.
Yeah.
And so now you've got like the NBA sitting in practice. Who knows how many come into games for Yegor last year, and he's a first-round draft pick. Now you got AJ, the number 1 recruit in the world, projected to be the number 1 pick in next year's NBA draft. How do you manage that as a coach and not let it be distracting? You want this greatest player coming out of high school that there is, but yet it comes with a lot.
Yeah, and you do. You've got family and friends and coaches and all the wannabes that are there wanting to get a piece of them. I think that my experiences were, I didn't treat Paul any differently than I treated anybody else. I remember standing with Coach, and AJ was working out, and he came over and shook my hand, introduced himself to me, wanted to know who I was, and he had he had the personality that I really enjoyed and liked. He was really friendly. He was, what's the word I want to use? He was genuine.
Yeah, he very much is. Yeah,
he's a genuine good person, and he didn't have to come up to me that day. He would have had no idea. I could have been a guy, working and cleaning the place. And he came over. Hey, what's your name? Who you are? And then we started talking a little bit of hoops, and we connected. So he's grown up with good parenting and good people around him, and he seems really grounded, which is hard to be in this situation. I think the thing I do know and I see about him is there is a maturity there when I watch him practice and when I watch him play. There's no facial expressions. There are no, oh, come on, it's like I am all in and I'm going to do the best I can. And he set an example because I have seen in college situations, collegiate situations, where he was the man and the guy and kind of had an attitude and carried it with him and pouted. Who wants to be around guys like that? That's not AJ. That's not Paul George. And if you're talking to young players today and find out, yes, you have to develop your skill set, but if you can't manage yourself and your approach and being selfless and a good teammate, then you're going to have it's going to be really hard for you. And that's what Paul and AJ have. And I will tell you, I don't know AJ's parents, But I can tell you that Paul is who he was, not because of his coach, because what he was with his mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And AJ sat here, and his dad, Ace was here with him, and so we only know him a little bit, but man, you've hit it right on the head. Like AJ he's had great parenting, and you can tell. You just watch him, and you know he's had great parenting.
Yeah.
Let's finish with this one, and then we're going to get to 5 questions and talk about your new book. Villanova's just around the corner. It's on TNT on opening night, part of a big doubleheader in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. What are Kevin's expectations, and how might those differ from fan expectations on that big opening night, maybe the biggest opening night in the history of BYU basketball?
What Kevin is doing is he's finding the best people that he can play, the best teams, the best programs, because he knows what's ahead. You know, why get a false sense of being, we were really good, we beat them by 36, and then he'd be better off losing by 1 to Villanova, and that's not what any of us want. But a loss to a great team is going to help him down the road more than beating people by 20 or 30. You get to play everybody. That's a nice thing. They give her just a few minutes. But I think the schedule that I've looked at, some marquee games that you've talked about, really the kids get excited about it. There is a sense of commitment and just focus, just laser focus about, hey, these guys can beat, this is a really big time team. And instead of just blowing people out by 46 or 7 times in the preseason, and it does, I don't see that it does any good. You're better off losing in the preseason to good teams than beating really poor teams and not giving your team a chance to grow. That's what you do when you play.
We saw that last year.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't ready for Big 12.
Kevin said it was too light last year.
Yeah,
schedule was too light.
Yeah,
and if you got and he said to us last year, I care where we're at right now, but I really care where we're at in March. And he knows that in this league, you don't have to go out and get 10 wins in the preseason to make it to the NCAA tournament.
No.
Because 7 teams go, sometimes 8, right? And so it's just like, no, we need to get ready to play in our league because we finished in the top half of our league, we're in the NCAA tournament. Exactly. And I want to be peaking at the end of the year, and I want to make a run in the NCAA tournament. It's a whole different mentality when you're not playing in the WCC, or right?
And then when you're in the WCC or whatever it might be, you have to, that's how you get into the tournament.
You got to get to 24 wins.
You got to beat you got to beat 10, 11, 12 bad teams, and it looks good, and you get in.
Gonzaga.
And then you get beat in the first round.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
all right, 5 questions for Coach Cleve, presented by StrategySquare.co. Tonight, Steve's going to give us his top 5 nuggets from his new book, Touch All the Lines, which hits outlets on November 10th, just in time for the holidays. I've heard the presentation. I'm looking forward to reading the book. And I know that the motivation behind it was that some more people could see it, read it on their own time, think about it, and apply it to their life. And I also know that it's hard to write a book. It takes a lot of time. So congratulations on that. Are you still glad you did it now that it's ready to hit the press?
It was a life-changing experience. I have a friend that I met when we moved back here by the name of Jeff Allen, and his father, Steve Allen, had been head of the missionary department for 40-some years. And I got to know him when we were mission leaders and became good friends. And then when we came back here a few years later, I met his son. And we'd go out for breakfast. He was a bright guy that just loves BYU and just loves basketball, and we'd go routinely just to catch up, and he was the one. He says, every week we get together and have breakfast, and you're telling me about all these amazing things. You need to write a book. I said, come on, dude. I'm not writing a book. That's for other people. That's for famous people, but that's not for me. And he just got serious with me, and he said, no, you got to do this. Just do this. Just go home and write your experiences, from my coaching experiences, from my more spiritual experiences as a mission president, and then my family. And I started writing, and you realize that, man, I've had a lot of different experiences in my life. I've been really blessed to have great parenting. I've had great siblings. I've had great teammates, all the kids that we've coached over the years, and all of them had different stories. And so he got me to write stories. And then we got together with Heather Moore, who was our writer, and Roxanne, who is our publicist, I'm surrounded by amazing women, and they pulled it out of me and got it. And, I've always shied away from things like this.
Yeah.
But what I've sat down now and I've read a little bit, and I thought, this feels good. If anything, I thought, okay, all the guys I ever coached, I got to get a copy to them.
Yeah.
All the missionaries.
No. Let them buy it.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Let them buy one.
Exactly. Don't buy them. You get a free one at the launch, the book launch. But you're right. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with that.
Good.
I'm okay with that.
All right, you got 5 nuggets. Now, don't read the whole book for us because we're going to buy it.
No. I do.
Give us 5 nuggets for our 5 question segment.
One of the things is that,
and talk into the microphone.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There you
One
go.
of the things with touch all the lines.
Just pull it over like this.
Yeah, just pull that over.
There you go. One of the things with touch all the lines, it has 2 purposes in my life, and the book has 2 purposes. One, I had my personal life and my personal faith, and then my coaching career. And so one of the things that I used to do was I'd go and meet with teams and organizations. We talked about having a championship culture. And, that culture is established a lot of different ways, but a lot of it is just understanding. I have a little card here, this little touch all the lines card, and I'd go out when I spoke and talking about trust and respect and shared vision and commitment and passion, integrity, accountability. These things have application to everything you do in sport.
Right.
Okay?
And life.
They also have everything to do with your spiritual life. And so I've made up, when I've gone out and done firesides, if it's a group of, YSA kids, I would set this up for their spiritual strength and growth. This one is for coaches and organizations that if you don't have common language and you don't have team traditions and you don't measure performance and you don't do those things, you can't reach your full potential. And that's kind of what this is about.
And when you say touch all the lines, it's a play on a basketball drill.
Yeah,
right?
so what happened?
And people that don't know basketball, when we run in lines or you're running ladders, some people call them ladders. Yeah. Explain the.
So what happened is this: it was Paul George's first year at Fresno State, and we had young players, no seniors, had a couple juniors, but it was a really young team, and so. It was probably in 6-7 practices in, guys are tired and we're conditioning them and finally I put them on. I just got upset with them and said, you guys are not going hard enough. So I put them on the line, the baseline, and they all knew what a line tag was. You run from the baseline to the free throw line and back, baseline to the half court and back, 3/4, full court. And you do that in a period of 15 or 20 seconds. You have a time and you just meet it and do it. And we'll say, hey, we're going to run 5 line tags today. This is, that's kind of like punishment, but I need to get your attention. And they do that and we go forward and have practice and so forth. So that's where that kind of started. But what really set it off for me was Paul's second year. We don't have a leader on the team and Paul's not that leader yet. But I was so upset with these guys. I just get on the line. I'm sick and tired of watching this kind of effort. We're not going anywhere. And so they lined up and they ran, and I think we ran 5, and they're exhausted. And all of a sudden, 2 or 3 guys aren't touching.
Yeah.
And
meaning they're cutting it short so they
cutting
can.
It short.
They're not quite getting to the free throw line.
They're not
they're going 6 inches short. That just makes the run a little bit less.
Exactly.
Easier to make the time.
And they're getting lazy and they're feeling sorry for themselves, And
that didn't go over very well.
That didn't go over very well. And so I vividly remember the day this happened. We were in this practice. We were a young team. Paul's there. He was never a guy that didn't touch all the lines. But he didn't have the courage to get into his teammates and say, dude, we need to do this, And finally that day came where I put them on the line. They weren't touching them because I had coaches at every position. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to touch this with your foot, you don't have to touch with your hand. And so all of a sudden the coaches would just raise their hand. Jeff Reiner, he was with my assistant. He'd raise his hand, not touching. And so we bring them back. And I said, we're going to do this one more time. Okay. And they still didn't get it done. And so I was going to go crazy. I mean, I was just going to go off on them. And something in the back of my mind just said, don't do that. Brought them in, got arm in arm, and just went through each one of these, are you willing to trust your teammate? Are you going to respect guys? And, are you accountable for yourself? Do you have any kind of integrity that you can say, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do? All of those things we talked about as a group. And it was a great meeting. It was the beginning of something really turning our program around. The next day, I made them line up and run. And it was just for conditioning. I wasn't upset with them. And all of a sudden, Paul stands up and says, we're going to touch you-know-what lines. And he became the leader of the team. Said, don't even think about not touching all those lines. And it wasn't for punishment or anything, but it applied to a lot of things that, guarding guys, defending. Nobody likes to defend, right? Nobody likes to really run out and play to their potential and use all the energy they have and passion for the sport or for their own personal beliefs. And so I was always able to balance that, and it was really fun because sometimes I would intertwine them. I'm not afraid to talk about my faith with people that are not of my faith or people that maybe don't even have a belief in God. But I found that I got more confidence, and so I could always turn it over to, hey, if you don't have a faith in God, I understand that that's your own personal perspective. I said, but these things apply to your life. How do you treat your wife? How are you treating your kids? What are you doing? Are you taking shortcuts in work? And so the opportunity to do these culture building things as well as the spiritual things has been a delight and just a wonderful thing. I've made so many good friends, and I just love to go and share that. And I've learned so much from these people. And that's kind of what it's all about.
And so this book takes that and then applies to life.
Yes.
Not just ball players, but everybody, and reinforces those principles through your experiences, which make them interesting.
Yes.
Because of the adventures that you've had. I think it sounds awesome.
And I bet once Paul said that team became special.
They did. And I looked at my line of personal faith, patience, integrity, prayer, hope, grace, service. Those things have application if you're not even religious.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what I did. I kind of tried to separate it, personal and spiritual, but at the end of the day, I was most concerned about having that community, that team chemistry, where we're all on the same page. And I think, in my mind, most people that I know, whether they are religious or non-religious, they have faith in things. They have faith in their children. They have faith in their work. They have faith. That's a word, as a universal word that maybe people think is a kind of a spiritual connotation. But in my mind, it has application to everybody.
That's fantastic. Now, where can we get this book on November 10th?
Well, probably Barnes & Noble and also Amazon.
And here's a look at the cover. If you're looking on the live stream.
Oh, yeah.
There's the cover, Touch All the Lines, Lessons in Basketball, Faith, and Life, with Steve Cleveland.
And the foreword's written by our buddy, Travis Hansen.
Travis, I'm telling you, when we have this launch, you guys are obviously both invited to come to this launch, but I'm going to have Travis read that foreword.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, it brought me to tears.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis and I are always, we've been close, but I never knew he felt about me like that.
Till he put it down in writing?
He put it down in writing, and
Dave, you and I need to write. Let's write our own foreword to Coach. The impact he's had on our lives.
We're doing our foreword right now.
Exactly.
We're just thrilled to have you on the show, and that book's going to be great for so many people. We look forward to the launch, and we'll help get word out too.
Thanks.
When folks can get it and
where
all
we can
that
get
stuff.
I look forward to that.
All right, we'll see you Friday night. Are you going up there? Or are you going to watch the game?
No, I'm going up.
You going up?
Yeah, we'll see up there.
I got to figure out how to get some tickets. I got to get a hold of Brian.
Yeah, call Santa.
You got a guy.
So now, here's the thing. The AD would not even have had a job if you didn't convince everybody to hire him to be your director of basketball operations when that job didn't even exist back in those days.
Yeah. Hey, Eric on the stream wants to know if you're doing an audio book.
Yes, I've already done it. I have done an audio book.
Fantastic.
And I don't know what to do with it. No, my publicist and those folks will tell us.
We'll get the word
And
there.
I think we'll have those for sale as well at the launch.
Good.
And everybody that goes to the launch gets a book.
Yeah.
That we're doing. And they'll let me know how that works.
Cool.
Okay, we'll spread the word.
Like I was telling you, we might be out of town, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah, you told me
if I'm
that.
not out of town, like we're coming.
Yeah, no problem.
We're coming.
Well,
So
we'll
I'd
get
love
together.
to be part of that. Yeah.
Get together.
So
I'm introducing you, so I better be
Yes,
there.
you are.
Right?
He's gotta
I'm
be
gonna wear
there.
my bow tie and
Whatever you
we're
want
going
to
first
wear.
Are you wearing?
class.
Are you wearing a tux?
Oh yeah, it's a big night.
Oh, I usually wear a
It's book
tuxedo
launch.
T-shirt because that says what is that from? That says I'm serious, but I want to party.
Yeah.
Steve Cleveland, it's always great to have you here on the
Hey,
show.
thanks, guys, for having me.
Thanks
I
for your
appreciate
insight.
it.
And congrats
So,
on
thanks,
the
Coach.
new book.
Thanks.
And we look forward to
We'll see you Friday.
getting it.
Yep. See you Friday.
See you Friday.